This is VGMpire 52. Celebrating 20 years of Plok.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yes.
I thought we were celebrating
Bluegrass Festival?
Orion white buddy cop road movies.
Yes.
Super Creedence Clearwater Revival.
64.
It reminded me of the trailers for movies like Midnight Run and Plane, Trains, and Automobiles. Like, John is uptight.
And Tommy couldn't give a
Tommy keeps dropping candy bars in the water heater.
So that's your host, Brett Elston, along with two
Society's the later time. Hi.
We may have had a few before this, so get ready.
The Ghost of John Candy.
Don't besmirch John Candy.
My audience likes me. My podcast
likes me. That movie makes me cry.
I'm a genuine article. I'm the real deal. What you see is what you get.
All right.
Those aren't pillows. All right.
Everybody, just go watch Planes, Trains, and Automobiles. Consider the episode over. Thank you very much. Now, this is Plok. This is a Super NES game that, if you haven't heard of it, fine. If you have, it probably struck you in a weird way like it did me, with its weird, somehow pre-Flash graphics and
probably
unlovable character design.
Only game starring a Klansman.
That's so close.
He looks like Ku Klux Klan from
Ku Klux Klan, yeah, and Disgruntled Goat.
He does.
Angry Ant.
Disgruntled Goat has moments. But yeah, he's basically like Rayman before Rayman, where it's this tube with arms, and then you would run around this very colorful world, shoot the arms, and if all the two arms would fly off, then your legs would fly off, and then just this torso with a head, looked like a hood, would flop around, and then the arms would come back to you. And it was just this like weird, like published by Trade West, made by Software Creations, and music by Tim and Jeff Follin, who, if you know your game music, you know your 8-bit NES music especially.
The Laser Time theme.
Laser Time theme of Silver Surfer. And also just a lot of C64 music, Commodore 64 music. These guys are very prevalent.
Sup, UK.
Sup, holla, Amstrad, am I right? I guess.
Yeah.
Give me a Top Gear reference. I don't have
ZX. Stig.
ZX Spectrum.
ZX Spectrum, that's fine.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Plok was this game where, so it turned 20 years this fall, I believe.
Sure.
And I remember junior high, 1993, and two of my friends.
Wait! Can we call this episode Plok, Rockin' Beats?
I was going to. I'm not kidding.
Thank God.
It was either going to be Fallen Ploks, because of Tim Follin, or Plok, Rockin' Beats.
Yeah, Plok, Rockin' Beats.
Okay. I'm not joking. I thought of that earlier today. Damn it.
Yeah, great
All right.
minds go to
Well,
bed
that's
at midnight.
Go to bed before 11. Well, that was my entire weekend for what it's worth. So
What, going to bed before 11?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah,
you don't do that on weekdays, though, do you?
No, it's weird. Friday, Saturday, unless there's some constant stimulus,
Yeah.
I'm just out. I just I'm out. That's fine. I'll get up at 8 a.m. and do something all day, and then I just die.
Ooh, I forgot to do a lot of stuff this weekend.
Whoops. Anyway, I was told over and over again, get Secret of Mana, get Secret of Mana. I got Plok.
That's why you love it so
I
much.
I had birthday money.
Brett,
Yeah.
are there any overplocked remixes?
Yeah. That might be.
I wish my soundboard was hooked.
It is one of those. It is one of those games where I'm like, why aren't there more?
Thank you.
I'm looking at the publishers elsewhere, and it leads me to believe that there was some faith in the quality of the game because it was published by Nintendo itself in Europe, and it was published by Activision in Japan.
Really?
Yeah.
Weird. It was published by Trade West of Double Dragon fame here in the U.S. But yeah, it never got a sequel. And the two guys,
Steve and John Pickford?
Steve and John Pickford, they actually messaged me back at Games Radar when I did a Game Music of the Day, kind of the precursor to VGMpire. I did a Game Music of the Day of Plok. Or, no, it was a, like, right before I left Games Radar. It was like a top 25 Super NES games ever, because Super NES turned 20 in 91. And I put Plok in there, because who's going to tell me no? And they sent me a personal message that was like, awesome, man, thank you. That's so cool that you liked Plok. And it's like, I really do. It's this super weird, hyper colorful, very difficult game that has an amazing soundtrack. And in that era where, like, everything was trying to be really cool, this was like, he was a mascot that, like, while in the game he maybe had some dialogue that was like, I'm irreverent, and boy, do I not take crap from anybody. It, like, the character design did not exude that. It wasn't offensively like
Bubsy.
Like Bubsy, God.
Are you still playing this thing?
Oh, I'm so irreverento. But yeah, this sucks. Bubsy Not Good by Accolade, named so that would appear alphabetically before Activision. in a product in a publisher listing back when things were printed on paper, kids, paper, like your newspapers.
What?
You wipe your butt with them.
Okay.
But yeah.
Why would they want their name on my toilet paper first?
Angelsoft has that honor. Thank you very much. But Plok is nonetheless the soundtrack. Like that song that brought us in is like, I don't know. That's like such a country bluegrass. That is not a game music-y sounding thing.
No,
and Tim and Tim Follin especially, is a very proficient musician, and he definitely has this air of like he's a musician first and doesn't really care about video games, and would oftentimes be like, I really couldn't care less.
I don't care what it looks like. I'm just gonna make this song.
Yeah, he's like, game music is meant to support what's on the screen, and how that interprets Plok into that opening, I don't understand, but nonetheless, it's a great soundtrack. So This episode does two things. One, it's mostly a tribute to Plok because I love every song on this soundtrack. And two, in the end, we'll get into a bit of some deep cuts of Tim Follin on the NES on games that might not normally get their own show. But we'll jump into a few songs. And Plok music, it gets into like goofy circus town occasionally, but oftentimes it gets into this like, and I'm not good with music terms, and I can't stress that enough. I get this like weird 70s movie like art house. There's the Chris dropping his e-cigarette.
Hi.
That's some KGB trigger for somebody somewhere is now like going on a murderous rampage.
I should be on the soundboard. Dropped e-cigarette.
But it's like this art house film music that sounds like it should be in this like elongated chase scene or something with some very stark lighting, and I can't like put my mind around it, but it's just something about the soundtrack, even as like a 13-year-old with barely, not even capable of nostalgia or looking back and reminiscing at all, something about the music even then made me think like, man,
this is just like Freebie and the Bean, a movie I've never seen.
Yes, how'd you know? So we'll go into Akrillic, which is the island, I believe, that Plok is on. No one's going to correct me, so who cares? It's got nice keyboards in it. It has like much of the soundtrack has this prog rock feel to it that it's a very long song, and how it starts is not how it ends. It's this journey.
There's several suites about a unicorn man becoming a man.
And the trees. Then we'll do the Akrillic Beach, which is a little bit more upbeat and punchy. It has a little bit more of the Super NES fanfare, but not misused. This whole soundtrack is very much like Genesis can be abused or put to good use, the Super NES can similarly be abused. Super NES can be abused very easily with the trumpets and these like.
I was talking shit about Genesis.
Oh, sorry.
Talking stuff about Genesis.
Oh, I know, and it's fine. No one cares. But this is like an example of like using trumpets and the fanfare stuff that Super NES can be very easily like, oh god, this sounds awful, and it doesn't. And while this music is playing, by the way, the Akrillic Beach, you're searching for fleas, and the game makes no sense. It's like Plok runs an island and fleas infested, so he has to go punch all the fleas, and then he goes and finds the flea queen, and then
I like to imagine the bassist from Red Hot Chili Peppers is just in sprite form collecting.
Boy, they were blowing up when this game came out. Let me tell you. And then we'll do Legacy Island, which is actually one of the coolest bits the game does that no game that I know does this, and you guys might correct me if I'm wrong. So you play as Plok in the beginning, then you go find a boss, then you go back to your house, and you're like, man, if only I had this amulet, I could clear the fleas out of here right away. If only I knew where my grandpa hid it. And then it does the dream wavy, and then the game goes total black and white. You play like 6 levels as Plok Grandpa, black and white, with this music, Legacy Island, and it sounds like silent movie that it has a sound to it.
Back piano.
Yeah, and and the whole, there's like 6-7 levels of this, and then you slowly find this medallion, and then it goes back to the present day, and you're like, I remember where he hit it. But it's this really cool area where it's all black and white, and it's meant to sound like
some like tired old lame stuff like Steamboat Willie.
Totally,
or some awful
totally.
Disney
It's just
garbage.
this awful precursor
Disney's
to
trash. Disney sucks. Hi, Chris.
Whoa! So we'll do the Akrillic Beach, and Legacy Island, and be back. So I'm more amazed at re-listening to this. One, how absolutely yes, Rush, Genesis, prog,
King Crimson,
out the ass that it totally is. And then two, like you mentioned, like you're like any other Super NES game music song would have already looped by now.
Yes,
and
it
repeated
goes off
itself
on several bridges with like a drum solo, like a bass solo, guitars, and then like. Yeah, definitely.
And that's like, and that those are all layers I didn't appreciate as a 13-year-old. I'm like, music's cool, whatever, right? More Tom Cochran, please. John Cochran, Life is a Highway. What's that guy's name? Whatever.
The metaphor was received.
Oh, great. That's great news. But all those things were still firing in my head. I just didn't know what they were. But it really was like, that's why it's sticking with me. This sounds like real music put into a video game that still has all the qualities of game music I would like, and that's because that goes back about 5-6 years when I was falling in love with Castlevania, which was itself influenced by probably the same places that Tim and Jeff Follin pulled from to make music like this. So it's like, that's why like a year ago when I was like, Grim, give me some prog rock, I think I might love it, and then I'm struggling to find an actual thing that I did like the early Genesis stuff. I remember liking that, but I think that and Yes is where I enjoyed it, and I find I actually like Rush because I like the theatrical nonsense of it.
Right.
But then after that, I don't remember where else I'd left off.
Without the high school poetry.
It is. But there's something about it that I'm like, you know what? Anyone who genuinely believes in what they're doing, I'm almost ready to go. That's fine.
True.
That's fine.
And they're doing what they do and pushing that to its absolute possible limit. There's got to be some respect for that.
Yeah,
I agree.
What was the one you mentioned that it was like that I hadn't heard of?
King Crimson.
King Crimson.
Did you ever see Children of Men?
Yes, I did.
The whole soundtrack, most of the soundtrack was from Court of the Crimson King, which is their most famous album.
I think I did listen to that.
Yes.
Okay.
That's another good one. A lot of that sounded very... It's just like... I mean, prog, I think it's called prog, but it's very jazz rock.
Yeah.
I mean, that's its own separate genre, but it is very like... You hear just like lots of solos and sort of improvisation stuff, but it's not improvisation.
It's space music.
There's space rock.
Music.
There's all kinds of stuff. Space Jet.
But that's the thing, I guess, that it does get as close to, like I mentioned in the Castlevania 4 episode back in Castlemania Volume 2 with Super Castlevania 4. There's a song that has like a jazz flute, what sounds like an improv solo, and I'm sure it was very calculated and whatever. But in the game, it was like, wow, this sounds like just somebody's actually on the other end of this cartridge.
I feel like if you grab the instrumentation from this and you actually got a band together, you could probably make a unreleased Weather Report EP out of it.
Look, and wow, you're cutting to the core to me here, where I would actually sit and make tapes of Weather Channel music and listen to them. And that's how I found Vivaldi, believe it or not. 4 Seasons was played in there, and
Weather Report is actually a sort of jazz fusion.
Oh, I thought you meant like actual Weather Report.
No. Also good, but yes. I have actually looked for a Weather Channel song before.
1995 and 96, I have VHS tapes that I still may have of just like I would only record local on the 8s because it would have that music, and I would just like, yeah, this is the best one. You gotta wait for it. Ugh. But yeah. Plok, everyone. Have either of you even played the game?
I haven't, but I have followed. You know what I have followed closely? Your undying affection for the game. Your friends come into town and you beat it, and you constantly bring up. Well, I've worked with you for a couple of years, and you bring up the music all the time. And you guys, I know you guys replay it, so I do look at any and all Plok information that comes across
Plokblog.blogspot.plok.
There is in the Internet Archive a website called the Only Plok site.
I found it, and I tweeted it out earlier this month.
It still has HTML for a vote for Plok 64.
Yep.
Guys, let's make this happen.
Yep, and it's like a dude pleading, like, we need to do this.
It's such an example of the early version of the Internet, and not only, like, guys, we can make this happen. The creators have said nothing or had no interest in making it. He went ahead and whipped up the designs. Guys, get behind me.
Yeah,
we'll make this happen.
Yeah. This is decades before Indiegogo.
Yes,
Kickstarter.
I did come across a blog entry from the Pickford brothers.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it's kind of fascinating. He writes about the creation. Can I read a little bit of it, or you want to go into another break?
Go for it.
Well, it basically talks about how they had worked on a bunch of other games. And if I look at just John's bio, I see a ton of games that I played here. Beauty and the Beast, Equinox, Tom and Jerry on the NES people, Solar Jetman, Bubble Bobble.
Classics.
Probably certain ports.
Wetrix, Maximum Carnage. A bunch of really cool games that I played, and he said that we wanted to make a character where we could retain the IP or have any kind of ownership over what we've actually made instead of just working for hire and tossing it off into the ether. And here's a piece from his blog, which is super cool. And a general idea of a colorful, cute character jumping around in a side-scrolling environment, which they were working on for like 5 years. And even some of the specific ideas in Plok were no longer as fresh as they were when we conceived them. While we were struggling to get Plok off the ground, plenty of other developers and publishers with more resources than us, and in some cases sneak previews of other games, he writes in parentheses, had similar ideas. And while we were finally getting Plok to completion on the Super Nintendo, a wave of cute character-based platform games hit the market. Yeah. Zool, Rayman, Sonic, Bubsy, the Bobcat, etc. Bubsy seemed to be the one that turned the tide as far as the market was concerned. Not another bloody cute platformer game seemed to be the general response. Plok was released a few months after Bubsy, and despite some great reviews, I think it was perceived as yet another bandwagon-jumping cute platformer and didn't achieve the commercial success we were hoping for. Curse you, Bubsy the Bobcat.
Couldn't said it better myself.
Yeah.
Bubsy is the literal Poochie of games.
He also, I do like his line,
that said, please follow at Dark Bubsy 14.
He talks briefly about making another one or something like that. Cute, colorful platformers will probably never come back. Will never become fashionable again. And I bet it would be hard to convince people that we didn't steal from Rayman, even if we made a new game based on the character.
They were like 3 years before Rayman.
Exactly, that's what he's saying. But it would be hard to convince people we didn't steal from Rayman.
Well, I'm in your corner.
Yes,
listen to me, everyone.
We're here to
Rayman
help.
Was years later.
I got like 4,000 followers on Twitter. I'll give you 2 tweets. $1,000.
$1,000. It is. While it is a good game, it does occasionally get into like just like cheap. Like there's just some areas where I'm like, I've played this game 100 times. Just like I still don't know how to get through this spot without getting hit. And it's one of those games where you have a huge life bar, but everything that hits you takes off huge chunks of it. So you're like, why is it a huge life bar? Like
a scaling issue.
Yeah, it's just it becomes very hard to play. And then finally, the only way I was able to beat it was creeping saves. Because playing it legit, I could get almost to the end. And
the blog acknowledges there were only a few flaws in the implementation. Cough, no password. Cough.
Yeah, not because it was a long game. It's not,
and he's a little too hard by today's standards. He also says
it's not even by today's. Like even by then, because when I finally got to the point where I'm like, okay, this is the last level. Oh my god, okay, this is the last level. This has to be the last level. Because every 4 steps is another list, like gameplay element I haven't done, so there's no way I'll learn it without dying first.
Yeah.
And then you get through like 4 instances of that in this tunnel, and then here's a boss that's also cheap, and then it's like, how would you ever, like, as a kid with nothing else to do, I still couldn't do this. Anyway, it's still a cool game though. Like it only gets that frustrating near the end, but like the first like hour you're playing it, it's like this is really cool. It's just so visually interesting, and again, the music is like this transcending another world. It's like this doesn't gel with the world I'm playing at all, which is like Plok is this yellow and red cartoon character fighting what looks like the Tang Lips characters with denim jackets, and like you're fighting fleas, and meanwhile this
Twizzlers. Twizzlers spokespeople.
Twizzlers.
There you go.
So we'll do into 3 more songs here. This is Plok's house. This is after he fights the boss and comes back. It's like, man, I wish I could find that amulet. So
like Plok's trance or Plok's
yeah, it's very
energy.
much hyphy nonsense. But it's weird because it has this sense of triumph, but it's as you're finding out you need to do more adventuring. So it's this weird song that like has the sense of like this air of like I've accomplished a goal, but there's still more to do. There's an adventure to still have, and like the fact that a game song can have that in 1993, and the game is named Plok, was always very cool to me. After that is the boss music, which again is I think I maybe did it on a game music of the day or something back then.
The decisive Plok counter is the name of the track.
Yes. This sounds basically like music that would play underneath commercials for Goosebumps, I'm going to guess. It sounds like a scary circus, but it's pretty non-threatening. But I do think it's pretty cool music. And then Creepy Crag, which is that 70s thing again that comes up where I'm like, I can't put my finger on it. Maybe it is that prog rocky sound, that like early 80s, late 70s. Maybe that's just where my brain is like lumping it in with all that stuff. But it sounds like they're just jamming out with a full band. The music just kind of takes you to this weird other place. Meanwhile, I'm playing a game with this weirdo character, and it's just this weird juxtaposition of these two things, like all the time with this game. So we'll do those 3: Plok's House, the boss music, and Creepy Crag, and be back. The richness, the flavor.
There was a lot of territory that was covered.
I feel like I've been on a journey across the country.
I don't know the game very well, but that I don't know. It seems like it does suggest that kind of music suggests some kind of love for this product that was going into it for the people who developed and published it.
I guess. 'Cause, I mean, Tim Follin and Jeff both make. There's echoes of this in their NES music, but it seems so much more rich and layered here than anywhere else.
It doesn't seem like music I would have loved playing the game as a young child, but looking at it now, like there's a ridiculous amount of effort and things happening with that music in a situation. If it's on Super Nintendo, it didn't warrant that kind of attention.
You didn't need to do this.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. That kind of effort, I think, is wasted on the ears of an 8 or 9-year-old.
Yes.
Well,
there you go. Perfect way to put it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, but like that's what I was saying. Like at the time, why I loved it wasn't clicking, but now today I'm like, I totally get like being an adult that works at a job and not a kid who just kind of floats through the day and has no sense of time or ownership or anything, knowing like that had to be pretty tough, and like you could have just phoned it in, and like the standards for game music of just something like a cute platformer weren't too rigid. Right. So he could have been like, that's fine. Instead, it's like every song in this game is about 4 minutes before it loops. And most NES games are like 30 to 45 seconds, maybe 60 seconds before they loop, and then Super NES you get like maybe a 60 to 90 seconds. This is like 2-3 minutes.
I mean, just listen like Wolverine's Revenge. Bow, bow, bow.
Oh yes.
I mean, I'm even thinking Bubsy.
God, Bubsy, man.
I beat that game.
Yeah,
there's like 100 levels in that game.
It's
all
too
recycled
much.
garbage.
Too much.
Yes.
So we'll do. This is a.
Yes. I love. That's my favorite thing though. When you get to the end, and it's like, are you still playing this thing? Even he's like, really?
Yep.
And they're like, how many more breaks do you have left?
2 more breaks. Okay. So yes. Well, last block of Plok songs. Plok Rockin' Beats, everybody.
A block, a 90 minutes of uninterrupted block rock.
I can probably stack that if you all want that. This is the Flea Pit. This is after you go and find more fleas. And the game is just so weird where it doesn't like we're like, how did you arrive at this? Just all the bosses are super weird, but then you get to this point where if you shoot a target with the arms of Plok, the arm won't return to you. It'll disappear, and you'll have to find a coat hanger somewhere in the level that has your limbs hanging on it. And then you'll bounce over there as this limbless torso and then fly over a coat hanger and get all your limbs back. It's like, what? And meanwhile... Whatever. Flea Pit, which is a slow jam, but it sets the mood, and it's a late game level, so it's supposed to sound like a Den of the Bad Guys kind of thing, so it's a little slower. After that is 3 things where you would pick up costumes and it would change Plok's outfit, and they would write some theme song, like a quick 60-second thing that is like, it sounds like that. Cowboy, so you get this limited time buff where I think you get like a buckshot kind of thing, maybe. It might be something else. The boxing glove, which is straight up Rocky, and the rocket launcher, which is this triumphant, powerful fanfare stuff. But it does have this sense of like, I got this cool weapon, I'm going to go tear crap up. And so, Flea Pit, Cowboy Suit, boxing glove suit, and rocket launcher, and we're back. What was it?
So that last one sounds like he just became president, and that's his inauguration.
Oh, man. No, with that guy in the White House, we're going places. And that place is Akrillic Island.
Oh, my God. Graham, you'll be happy to know Wikia has its own Plok page. Plok.wikia.com.
Thank God.
Please contribute to the Plok wiki.
I will say that
I won't ban you.
The Pickford Brothers website is thoroughly updated with all the concept art from the game, everything they thought about it.
Oh, really?
It's super cool. They have a bunch of stuff on the iOS now, and I click on check out the games we like. I'm like, this is going to be the games that inspired them, blah, blah, blah. And it's a bunch of games that are contemporary on iOS that they like and link to. Just a cool way to make your little website. I don't know, cool thing to do on your website.
What's the URL for their site?
It's z3zee-3.com, but if you just search Pickford Brothers, I think it's a section on that website. But there's a bunch of stuff about Plok. Apparently, Plok made an appearance in 2009 in an iOS game called Zaku. Yeah. So he's definitely obscure, but he was definitely made a mark on
Infinity Blade. He was in there.
Yeah, Infinity Blade. Totally.
You had to dig real deep, but he's in there.
He is. He's locked in one of those freemium treasure chests.
Good.
Yeah.
I just can't get over. We listen to this song and then like it takes forever for it to get to that point, but this is just so nuts to me.
To me, this is total like Pink Floyd heavy metal.
Yeah.
The song I was going to play you, there's a song, there's a movie called Cat People, and Giorgio Moroder did the soundtrack for it, and this reminds me a lot of the theme song of that, yes.
I always knew this like in context of just the game, and I listened to it and I'm like, it's
so you're
great.
Just like playing a platformer at this point.
Yes, and it's like cheap jumps and fleas everywhere, and like everything's just obnoxious and everything hurts you, and meanwhile I'm just like,
to me, it looks like Ralph Bakshi era animation of somebody just jerking off of their own space effects. That's what it sounds like.
It really is that Ralph Bakshi style. Like,
I hope the whole audience is high because we're going to show you this for 4 unadulterated minutes of a spaceship flying.
Yeah, pretty much. So
that's what that reminds me of.
So that brings us to the next wave of this show, so that's Plok, and there's still more tracks I would love to play from Plok. It's a great game. I don't know if there's even a legit way to get it. I don't think it's on the Virtual Console. I might be wrong, but
if you torrent it, maybe buy one of the Pickford Brothers iOS products.
Yeah, if you're gonna go steal it, which is probably the only way you can even do it.
It has a Plok comic.
Go buy one of their stuff because this game has brought me no end of enjoyment, and I'm certain you're all enjoying this music.
And they're still working.
And they're still working, so so support these dudes. But moving back into Tim Follin's music, and because again Plok is 20 years old, Tim Follin is like this music that I would love as a kid, and then as in college when my friend Josh and I would start like digging through old NES games and would find, wow, this thing has crazy music, this thing has crazy music, this thing has crazy music. Wow, these are all the same dude. Then we look on the internet, oh my god, there's this guy. And then over the last 5-6 years, his history has been able to like come out on the internet, which is really cool. Because when we were finding this stuff in 99-2000, it was not common knowledge, especially in the U.S., because he's a UK-born fellow.
Disney fan.
Disney. Oh, for sure. I'm sure totally into Disney. But this is a bunch of stuff, and some of this I may have played some of this in the very first VGMpire, and I can't even remember at this point. So like the Solstice title screen, which I know I may have played in the first episode. If I didn't, I'm sorry. But this is just a quick grab bag of things that maybe would have never merited their own show, but are from the same artist. So the first step's Crash Dummies. Incredible Crash Dummies. This is the even numbered level, I think. It's not that Crash Dummies. Come on. After that is Sky Shark, which is a 2D shooter on NES. This is the title screen of Sky Shark. And then Target Renegade. And the thing about Target Renegade is there was an NES game just called Renegade, and it was really hard, kind of like a Double Dragon-ish, fight people, beat people up. And then there was Target Renegade, which I believe was some sort of sequel. Great title screen, or great, this is like level 1 music. Now, so this is another story where I'm driving in my car listening to game music, which is a recurring theme on the show. But there was this point where I was driving I was in like my third year college, and my friend had just made a VGM CD, and this was one of the songs on it. And I remember driving away with the girl I was dating at the time, and the whole time this song is playing, I'm just thinking, please don't break up with me. I know this is unbearable, but just please, just bear with me, and we'll get through this CD, but I have to listen because the song is that good. So again, this is Crash Dummies, Incredible Crash Dummies, based off the weird CG show from the early 90s.
Yes. I've played this game.
It's a
pretty cool game.
It's an interesting game. Yeah. It's not great, but it has great music.
I had the action figure too.
The action figures were amazing.
Yes, they were quite good.
Yeah.
To this day, my dad still has a character named Dent on the hood of his van, like that I bought he got me as a kid, and it's sun bleached beyond belief. It has been on a dashboard since 1993, I guess. Crash Dummies, Sky Shark, Target Renegade, and we'll be back. definitely get a bar fight in River City Ransom feeling.
Yes, it's very bars blues, kind of like 4 on the floor. Yeah, chugga.
Let's sing through some chicken wire to block the bottles.
And that's one
Pain
of those,
don't hurt.
Sorry, back problem.
it's one of those weird soundtracks that I've never dug more into, really, but I assume it's all great. And Sky Shark has like a bunch of great music. Crash Dummies has a ton of good stuff, and there's so much good stuff that I'm trying to even figure out how to categorize it all, because it's like,
I'm glad you did this anyway.
I want to play like Batman for me, like, you know, but then Sunsoft has so much good stuff, but then I don't want to do a Sunsoft episode and then do Gremlins and Batman in it, because I think a movie episode would be good, because I want to get Darkman in there. But there's so much, and Rocketeer, life is struggle. It's very difficult. So that's the show. Plok's 20 years old. No one cares but me, but
Thank you for caring, though.
hopefully through this,
you care.
hopefully through the music.
Hey, and I'm going to listen to this at work tomorrow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Not the episode. I
Not
hope,
the
'cause
episode,
It will
no.
not be ready.
I can't listen to myself talk.
Okay,
It
good.
instills a strange paranoia.
Okay.
But I'll listen to the soundtrack.
Yeah, it's great. It's a fantastic. Plok is some great stuff. And again, if there's a way you can, even if you buy a used copy, it's not like they're going to get any money for it. But at least you'll own the card, I guess. I don't know.
Go visit
buy
their
one
website.
of the,
They have a Plok
Yes.
comic there.
yeah,
Yes.
iOS, buy one of their iOS games.
Nickford Brothers.
Yes,
Thanks
Nickford
for
Brothers.
Billiards.
And the gentleman that made the music.
Tim Follin and
Tim
Jeff Follin. Geoff Follin.
There you go.
Jeff.
Falling off the face of the planet, am I right? What happened to those guys?
They did stop doing. Actually, that brings us into the last song of the show. Interestingly
What?
enough,
Hey.
What?
I think so. Tim Follin, I believe his last game, because he did game music into the Dreamcast era and into the early PS2 era, and then was able to kind of stop doing the kind of game music that I love. And was like, I really want to do, you know, music, like movies and TV stuff, like scores and things. Like, that's what I want. I'm a musician. And I'm like, I get it, but I don't like that. But whatever. Everything you've done up to now is... Yeah, pretty much. But everything you've done up to this point has been awesome. So whether or not how he feels about it, nonetheless, I'm a fan. I thought it was great work. Do what you want to do, because you've already done enough.
Right.
Like, as for this stuff, I got plenty to love already. You should do what makes you happy. Did Echo the Dolphin, I think, Defender of the Future, which was the Dreamcast one, and I could never get past that. I could never get past the subtitle, the idea that a dolphin is a defender of anything, much less our future. It's very hard to swallow. But this game, Treasure Master, which, if any of you remember...
I remember the contest.
It was a game that
Oh,
launched
yes.
around the idea of a contest. And I wrote this down off of the website, which is like... So... the game had a contest. You were able to practice the game up until April 11th, 1992, at which point, and this is the most line to get the beer, line to get the tickets to get the beer nonsense I've heard since that joke, is MTV revealed a password on the air, which, imagine how weird that is. Even now, if they were like, Call of Duty, we're going to unlock a map by MTV is going to post this code, everyone put it into XBLA and download it. It's like, that's weird. 1992, no internet. MTV is going to air a password, which you put into the game to unlock a sixth world, a prize world. Then you have until midnight that night to beat the game, and then at that point you get a password, and it gives you a unique password because you beat the world that had to be unlocked with the previous password. You get that password, you call a hotline, and give them that password to be entered to win one of 32,000 prizes.
So it's like $1 million. One of them was like $1 million, something like that.
But the whole game was built around how many of the treasures can you find and how many can you beat the game. So
this was an Atari dealie, right?
It was an NES game.
NES, okay.
NES game.
Sorry.
But yeah, it's this weird game that the dude has a weird walking animation where it looks like he's just power walking, like his biceps are moving as he walks, which is weird, like leaning into his own walk, which is funny. But the music is great, it's Tim Follin, and the title screen is really good. And then like later on, it would realize, oh, the title screen is a like straight up like remix or take off of the Starsky and Hutch theme that people didn't put together till later. And then, weirdly enough, Tim Follin would go on to do the music to a Starsky and Hutch, that PS2, GameCube, Xbox. I don't know if it was Xbox or
Ben
not.
Stiller, Owen Wilson tie-in vehicle.
I think it was
No,
around.
it was different. It was
around that
different.
time, but it was
Wow.
based on the show and had the voice of Huggy Bear in it. Like,
Thank God.
yeah,
Not the son of the guy
Not
who
the
played
son of the
Huggy
guy.
Bear.
No, actual Huggy Bear. So that's itself is very weird, and I think that might be the last game that he worked on. That was 2003. And that's a sad end.
If you're gonna drop the mic.
I guess on a Starsky and Hutch, yeah. But we'll end with Treasure Master. If you know Starsky and Hutch, get ready because if you don't, it's good music anyway. VGMpire.com. I read all your comments. Please leave comments. That's what I used for fuel to get through
Life.
my life. that's pretty much it. I do sequential fart on Tumblr, which is just comic book out of context panels. I think is funny. What do you guys do other than that?
Other than fart, Laser Time, LaserTimePodcast.com. This week we'll be doing insert topic. So I want you to all check that out. This week we'll also have on the show Mr. Black, and we'll also have on Sweet Can and Laser Time, guys. We do a different fun pop culture topic every week. Super fun. And then Cape Crisis, the comic book show. Elson's on it occasionally. Grimm's been on it once or twice. Cheap Popcast, Dave Rudden's wrestling show, which for some reason I'm roped into being on, despite not knowing a lot about wrestling. But Henry and Dave's enthusiasm for the art form is infectious.
It's pretty great.
Indeed.
Go for it.
Video Game Apocalypse.
Twitter at Pseudobread, Tumblr, Vice Principals. Thank you.
All right, we'll go out with Treasure Master, and we'll probably get in one more show before the Block Rock of October begins with a weekly episode blast of one game's topic. Last year it was Castlevania. This year is still yet to be named, although some of you have guessed correctly, I've seen in the comments, so good on you. For those of you who I didn't see at PAX, we'll see you maybe New York Comic Con, and thanks for listening. See you then.
Peace.